Hello, hello, guys. Okay, I think we're all tweeted out, and we are perhaps ready to go. So, just a quick explanation as to why I'm in a totally different setting and I'm on a laptop using this microphone on earbuds is because I am currently in Miami and I just kind of wanted to do some sort of like content filler for everybody just because I kind of just wanted to be able to do some content while I was out of town at my grandmother's house. If you can't tell, I am in a very grandmothery type guest room. There's beanie babies. This thing's old as fuck. This thing was actually made on my birthday, like not on my birthday, but birth year 1996. So there is, you know, very some very cute grandmother aesthetic going on here. So yeah, today, as you can see in the title, we are going to be talking about my experience with Street Fighter and like the fighting game community as a Twitch game and as a streamer, a new streamer coming into the field. And I know a lot of Street Fighter like cred comes with how much time you've put into the community and like what you've um what you've experienced like over time and like there's like like I'm an 09er is like a thing. You're like, oh, like a 10er, I don't know, like I'm a 13er, like there's like all sorts of like credibility behind that. So I'm coming in as somebody who has been a casual fan of Street Fighter and watching it on Twitch for ever since Street Fighter 4 um, arcade. So it's like I don't, but like I never really considered myself like a hardcore fan or anything. I would just like play Street Fighter 4 on and off since it came out, and I would also watch some streams here and there, and I would watch some tournaments. I wasn't really that huge into it. I wouldn't consider myself like a hardcore fan or anything like that. So, or even like a member of the community. I was mostly just like a lurker and a guy that played some Street Fighter every now and then. So this past like 2-ish weeks, I have been streaming a lot of Street Fighter 5 and getting really into the community. And so that is what has made me want to talk about what I'm here to talk about today. So that is kind of my experience with Street Fighter up to this point. I was a casual fan through 4, and I didn't play 5 for the first yearish that it was out because it was just a terrible mess on PC. And so picked it up 2-ish, 3-ish weeks ago, and I've been streaming it pretty consistently, and I've been watching a lot of streams and being more of a participating a lot more in the community. And so there's a lot of things that I've wanted to point out that I've noticed, and a lot of like growth stuff that I can see happening with Street Fighter, and it's not too late. And this is coming from someone that has been that was a StarCraft fan since StarCraft 2 came out, and I watched it progress. I watched a roller coaster ride of StarCraft. I was there at the liftoff, at the peak, and I was there for the downfall. So I know what it's like to see a game not do so well on Twitch and to see an esports community kind of struggle. And I'm not saying that Street Fighter is a struggling esports community, and I might get shit for calling it an esport. I know that's a whole thing. No, fighting games are different. I don't care really. If it's a game that's played competitively for money, I'm just gonna call it an esport. I'm not gonna get into like this fucking annoying like debate over whether or not Street Fighter is an esport or not, and whether or not they want to be associated with that crowd. Hey Nathan, what's up? So that we're not going to get into that. Street Fighter as an esport, I think, is actually growing bigger and better because of the support that Capcom has been doing, and that's like super cool. And I like that. That's neat. But I have, and first let me talk about some of the positive things that I've experienced as streaming the game. Streaming Street Fighter has been incredibly positive experience. I expected pretty much the opposite. I expected more of I expected more of to get like fucking cyberbullied for like being a complete noob. Like I went into Street Fighter 5 day one. You could watch it on YouTube or on my Twitch VOD. I didn't know what I was doing at all, um, and I was just kind of relearning Street Fighter because my experience with Street Fighter 4 was mostly just dicking around. It wasn't like any hardcore, learning the game. So that was kind of my experience with it. But so I went into Street Fighter 5 just a complete noob. And if you look at the Street Fighter 5 section, it's not really all that busy. I guess we can pull it up real quick. It's really not all that busy on the Street Fighter 5 section because it's just, and we'll get into this later, it just doesn't have a super big Twitch presence. Pulling up the Street Fighter section now. And I know this isn't necessarily prime time for streaming, but we could still kind of make a point out of this. And so, let's see here. Okay, so as you can see here, um, 14 views, you're already in the top 6, right? Like this is an uncommon, you might have some bigger names up here to fill up these 6 slots and like these 12 slots up here, but it's pretty easy to get up here. And so I was in like the top like 8 or something like that, with just one day of experience streaming Street Fighter. So it was I was getting a lot of new people coming in, and they were helping me out, and they were giving a lot of tips and stuff, and it was a really really positive experience. And I can tell you that um, from streaming StarCraft way back when, it wasn't always like that. For StarCraft, you'd get a lot of people who would just criticize you, and of course you'll get people who do that in Street Fighter every now and then, but it's the internet, so it's gonna happen. So the Street Fighter community, I think, is aware that they are not exactly like up there in terms of community count and their Twitch presence. So I think the more active members of the Twitch community saw a new person, and then they went to help me, which is really cool. I really liked that, like that initiative from the community. That was really nice, and it was just a really good positive experience, and that was what kept motivating me to playing, and getting better and better. And I think I can confidently say that I'm probably a lot better than I used to be because of the effort, and because there's just people who will sit my stream for the whole like 4 hours and just like help me the whole way through. Like huge shout outs to those guys. Like that is awesome. Just because people just like helping, and they like it's just a very like helpful community. Aside from Twitch, I would use the Street Fighter subreddit discords. They have a beginner one, and they have just a normal one. And once again, super helpful people in there, always willing to like give advice and to play matches and stuff like that. All you gotta do is just type in like, oh, who wants to play a match, and someone's like, yo, what's up, and then bam, there you go, you got someone to play with, and then they'll probably end up helping you. So that is a very positive experience that I've had with it. I'm looking through all my notes here. I don't really let's see. So yeah, that's pretty much like all, and that's not like a bad thing because once again, I've only been doing this for like 2-ish weeks with Street Fighter. It's just something that I've wanted to talk about. That's the only like really great positive thing I wanted to talk about is the community, and this is a really important thing. The community in general is very helpful and kind, and they are willing to help new people. So, and that is going to help them in the growth of their Twitch community and all that. So, good on you, Street Fighter community. That's great. But the kind of problem that I've noticed with Street Fighter streamers in general is, and I guess if you're a streamer that's just streaming for whatever reason for the hell of it, right? Like you don't care about you're about making anything of it. Like maybe you're just showing a friend you're playing, right? like that's cool. You don't have to worry about any of these things. But what I've noticed with Street Fighter streamers is many of them, they have like there's just, I'm trying to say this in the kindest way possible. There is just not a lot of high quality Street Fighter streamers that like this style of like streaming that I'm doing right now, which is very like, it's mobile on purpose. It's a laptop with a webcam and a microphone on earbuds. Like this is like almost the quality that I see a lot of the time with Street Fighter streamers. And I really think it would be really nice if there was like a renaissance of Street Fighter streamers that all like put in a lot of work. They put in a lot of work. They they get some better equipment, and it's just an all-around better viewing experience. They find a way to raise their bit rate and stuff like that, because it's, and it sounds like such a weird complaint, but it can turn a lot of people away. Like there are some nights where I'll go on and my your options are very limited because there's not a lot of people streaming Street Fighter. You have a few European people, so I can't really watch them because they're speaking German or French or something. And then the next person up there is an American person, but their stream is like terrible. Like you can't watch it. Like there's no commentary. Like I want to learn and I want to be I want to be entertained and stuff. Like those are the things that you want to go watch a stream for. Um, and that you just don't really see that. Like you see it in Street Fighter, you just don't see it a lot. And I wish that there was kind of like a renaissance of better quality streaming being put onto the website, better equipment and stuff like that. I think that that would be just fantastic. So I think that would be a huge improvement for the Street Fighter community. Would to be um, just kind of a more focus on quality streams, um, over just like, oh, I'm Diamond, I'm just gonna put on a 2000 bitrate stream. Nothing against 2000 bitrate, but I'm just gonna put on a 2000 bitrate stream and just slap my fight stick for a few hours and not talk or anything like that. It seems a little like I've seen partnered streamers that are like that level of like amateurishness. And this sounds super harsh, but I just want it to be better. I just want it to be better because I want Street Fighter V to be like a viewed game, like that is more popular, and it's just attracts more people to it, and and Twitch is very important. The tournaments that go on for Street Fighter are top notch, right? Tournaments that go on for Street Fighter are great. They run very well. They're very good production value. They get pretty good views, and it's an all around good viewing experience. But that, if StarCraft isn't proof enough, that isn't enough to carry your Twitch community up more. Because I watch StarCraft, they still have great tournaments that are held by DreamHack, Blizzard. They have IEMs. They have Home Story Cups, which is going on like at this time. These very high quality tournaments. These are great, but the Twitch community is like not that many streamers anymore. There used to be a lot of streamers, used to be a lot of high quality streamers as well, just giving constant commentary, reviewing replays, stuff like that. Like for example, like Day9 came out of the StarCraft community, and I might be ignorant here, but I don't think there's anyone doing stuff like Day9, but with Street Fighter, like streaming. And I'm sure there's people up to, like, it's not like Day9 was a StarCraft god, like he wasn't amazing at StarCraft, he was masters, right? I mean, he had a lot of knowledge of the game, but there's plenty of people that have a lot of knowledge of Street Fighter, and I know there are some Street Fighter podcasts out there, but I think it would be nice to see like, someone doing like kind of like a Day9 thing, like building a show out of that, reviewing replays and like teaching the public. I think Street Fighter, when it comes to content creation, like pre-planned content creation, is is more of like a very YouTube focused thing. Is Street Fighter V on PC actually good though? I heard it is a bit of a shit show. And I talked about this earlier. It still has some problems. They had like a patch that had like a rootkit in it, and it was like very fishy. Um, but they removed that, and now Street Fighter V is a bit better. It's a lot better than what it was on release. I have not really any problems with Street Fighter V. Um, on PC, only problems I get every once in a while is like I'll be in matchmaking and I might get a really laggy person even though it says 5 bars. Netcode has always been an issue in fighting games, and I'll be like loading into a match and it'll just be like perpetual loading. It won't stop. It'll just load for like 5 minutes. So that's the only like real problem that I've seen. Okay. Anywho, sorry, pulled up the wrong thing. Okay, so that is where I think a large majority of things can be improved is in the streaming world. I think that Street Fighter like streamers in general need to improve. Sorry, my throat just got all dry and shit. Secondly, and this involves some more work by Capcom. I think Capcom, if they started doing some more streamer focused, um, like backing up some streamers in terms of like, you have maybe on the menu of Street Fighter, you have like a streamer section or like something along those lines. Where like if you're going through a Street Fighter game, you have some access to to see the people streaming Street Fighter on Twitch. I think Capcom has been doing a better job of supporting tournaments, but I think that they can do a good job of supporting like top tier Street Fighter streamers as well and helping them make content. Maybe flying them out to a Street Fighter event and so they could play Street Fight. Like they could like I could see that being a way of attracting more people to the Street Fighter Twitch section if they flew people out, for example, to Evo or something, or to the Capcom Cup, let's say. Fly people out to Capcom Cup and let them play Akuma, which is a character that hasn't came out yet, but they teased, and I'm sure he'll be playable at Capcom Cup. Have these people who get an hour with Akuma. Like imagine all the people who would be flocking over to the Street Fighter section just to see something like that. Just like like live someone that's like playing this character live against other people in the venue or something like that. I think that would be a really great a really great way of getting some more eyes into the Street Fighter section. And kind of the final thing that I wanted to talk about here is the is this kind of like a commentary about this topic as to whether or not you need a popular Twitch presence in order for your game to be successful. And overall, the answer is no. The answer is no. StarCraft, people call it a dead game. It's kind of a meme at this point. But it's definitely gone down. Like I mentioned before, I've been there for the peak and I watched the views go down. But StarCraft still has tournaments, and it's very like comparable to Street Fighter in that I don't think Street Fighter hasn't really had a peak at like kind of like StarCraft has had, where StarCraft is getting hundreds of thousands of viewers every tournament. I mean, Street Fighter gets that with Evo and might get that with like Capcom Cup or something like that, but they won't be getting like massive views, kind of like Street or StarCraft is always getting. So where I kind of put Street Fighter is like in a camp kind of similar to Counter Strike. Counter Strike Global Offensive, when it first released, no one was happy with. They made a ton of changes and supported tournaments, and now Counter Strike Global Offensive is one of the biggest esports games and viewed games on Twitch. It is huge. And when it first released, and I was there for it too, I've been a Counter Strike player for years. It's been one of the first games I ever played when I was younger. Street Fighter or Counter Strike was, it was always a decent game, but when CS:GO came out, no one liked it. They made fixes, they got the proper ideas in, and they talked to the right people, and they fixed their game, and they made it more like competitive. And I'm not necessarily saying the balance or anything's wrong with Street Fighter. I'm just saying that a comeback story is possible, and Counter Strike is an example of this. And there's no doubting that Street Fighter is a hype as fuck game, or any fighting game in general is a hype as fuck game. It is very exciting to watch. It's very hype. People love watching it. Just looking at like watching the big tournaments and seeing the hype that you see in chat and in the crowds and the views that you can get from it. Imagine if that was, more consistent. Um, Capcom, like the way they like kind of advertise their stuff, like their tournaments, is not done very well. I think like they had a tournament in Korea with all these huge names, right? If somebody was like, for example, playing, or was a CS:GO fan or a StarCraft fan, and they saw like the biggest teams, right? They were playing against each other in like this tournament, but like it wasn't advertised. I think the title was like CC It was like Capcom Cup. It was like CCT, and then it was like Asia Finals, and it was like that's all the title was, and I didn't see anything of it on anywhere. They might have tweeted about it, but like I think that it's like that. Like, what's the point of streaming if you're not going to, try and just garner as much, kind of attention that you can, because that's like so important. And I'm sure people missed it, right? Like people miss like these huge names, like Infiltration was playing in it, like um Pongoko was playing in it, like all these really big names were playing in this tournament, and nobody was watching. It had like 3,000 views, and then maybe at the peak it had like 5,000. But like these are names, like if you were watching this in Evo, these people would be having like tens of thousands of views, 20,000, 30,000 views. Like these are really big names. So I think Capcom really needs to do a better job. Like maybe work with Twitch, and I'm sure they have in the past. Work with Twitch to get your game onto the front page, or do some sort of like advertising with Twitch, because they have a partnership with Twitch. Capcom Cup and Capcom have a partnership with Twitch. Why aren't they pimping out these tournaments more? I think that it's like a shot, like you're just shooting yourself in the foot if you have that type of connection and you're not doing much about it to like get your game viewed more. Like it seems a little bit silly to me. Anyway, sorry, I kind of went on a tangent. All I'm saying is that it is possible for Street Fighter to make a big comeback. Right now, it's at a decent spot. It's better than where it used to be. It's at a decent spot. It has a pretty small Twitch community, good tournament scene. I just think Capcom needs to buffer that a little bit. And in the Twitch scene, the Twitch players need to work on their game a little bit more. It can't just be one-sided. It has to be two-sided effort by the streamer and the company. So back to what I was saying, there's kind of a commentary about whether or not you need a Twitch scene for your game to be successful. And if you look at StarCraft, no, not really. They have tournaments. If you queue for a StarCraft game, you get one almost within a few seconds. People say it's a dead game, but I've played StarCraft. I played like my placement matches every season since 2010, and not once have I waited more than a few minutes to get a match in StarCraft. So it's really not a dead game. A dead game would be something that takes you like multiple minutes to get a match, and and I'm not talking like League of Legends that takes a few minutes every once in a while. Like I'm talking like 10 minutes to get a game. It's not a dead game. It's just proof that you don't need to have a huge Twitch community to necessarily have a live game. And so a lot of people might argue that, like a lot of prideful Street Fighter people, it kind of comes with the, oh, we're not an esport thing. Like we don't want to be associated with esports. We're not all big and professional. I think that it's kind of important to become a little bit mainstream, because a lot of people have argued, and I don't necessarily agree with this, but a lot of people have argued and a lot of people have quit Street Fighter because they just don't think the support is there. It's not that popular. It's not as popular as a lot of people would want it to be, and but a lot of people kind of like the amateur, kind of like grittiness of the way fighting games are, And I think that'll always be there. You're still gonna have like local tournaments, and you're still gonna have money matches and stuff like that. It's not gonna be like, I don't think it's ever gonna be like this super professional like suit and tie kind of game. Um, but I think that it needs the support of a good community. Um, do you think competitive RTS/fighting is dying? RTS is looking pretty bad, and I'll get into that in a second. But I don't think competitive fighting is dying. I think competitive fighting is getting better, but it's getting better really slowly, and that's kind of the problem. Is it's getting better very slowly, and that's because Capcom is doing a good job, but they need to do a better job. And I think that the streaming community needs to do a better job as well. And that's kind of what I'm saying. Someone might argue that you don't need a big streaming community for your game to be good, and I agree with that 100%. It would just be nice if that support was there um, on both sides. Now, if I think competitive RTS is dying, I think RTS is just kind of a dated genre for a new generation of people coming into playing games. Like your people are growing up with games now. This isn't necessarily like a bad thing. It's just the the circumstance of you know the progression of games. Like I'm not a huge fan of like really old RPGs, but I love most RPGs. You know what I mean? Because I think that they're a little bit too slow, and so that. But that's just me personally. And someone who's from that era might say like, "Oh, you're just like that because you grew up playing, RPGs that weren't, point and click and shit like that." So it's that kind of thing. I think that is happening to RTS. Kids are growing up now playing really quick games, growing up playing RTSs or MOBAs, and like more arena style games, very quick games like Call of Duty, really fast, instant satisfaction games. So RTS is declining in popularity a lot. I think that there is a market for someone to just release a really good RTS, a really good competitive RTS, because there's still people that want to play it, and there's still proof that people still play them. Because StarCraft, like I mentioned, isn't really a dead game at all. You can play it and get a match almost instantly, no matter what rank you are. No matter I've played StarCraft recently within the past months at like 2 a.m. and I've gotten games. So, it's not like it could play anytime. So I think that there's still a player base for that. Competitive RTS is definitely going down from where it was, but it's not dying. It's like it's not gonna die. Like people have been saying Quake is gonna die for years, but there's still people playing Quake and there's still Quake tournaments. I think that if we had to pick a game that is just like dead in the water, I don't know if I could find one, to be honest. I really can't. Like the closest to that might be Quake, because there are still tournaments, but it's like one or two a year. It's not like it's a lot of tournaments. And there's just not like, there's like very few people that enter in those anymore. But there are very few like dead in the water like esports games. Maybe like Heroes of New Earth or something like that. I would have to do some digging around, but I don't think that competitive RTS is going to die completely, and I think fighting games are actually on the rise. But and I think we can kind of make this our conclusion here. Competitive fighting games are on the rise. That's really good, right? Competitive fighting games are on the rise, but it's very very slow progression. I think that Capcom is doing a good job of supporting the game, but I think they can do a better job of supporting the game, and that is by pimping out their tournaments more, even the small ones, right? Even the small tournaments that are just qualifiers, stuff like that. Like people love watching competitive fighting games, and there's just no two ways about it. Like it's a very exciting thing to watch. Capcom needs to pull a Counter Strike Go and kind of light a fire up under its ass and really start doing something about making its Twitch presence and its new media presence in general, YouTube, Twitch. I'm sure they do stuff on Twitter. I don't really care about that. Stuff like that. Really push some fucking content out there, and they're doing it. They just need to put the fire on 10 instead of like putting it on like simmer or something like that. Because it's very slow progression, and I would like to see some really nice progression where we can see like fighting games be a consistent contender with just streamers be in the top like 20 on Twitch consistently. And that also requires work from the streamers part. I think streamers in general need to get better at streaming. It sounds really harsh, but it's just kind of like my opinion, I guess. Um, and it may be like mean, but most Street Fighter streamers, other than like a handful, I'm sorry if you can hear that dog barking, it's going crazy. Most Street Fighter streamers, other than a handful, are just bad at streaming. And like, as an activity streaming, they're good at the game, but they're bad at streaming. And I think that hurts. That hurts the Twitch community a lot. And I think there kind of needs to be a fire under the ass of streamers if you truly care about the game and how the community is built on Twitch, especially, and possibly YouTube. Then I think that you need to maybe that the community in that scene needs to maybe light a fire under their ass and get some better equipment, focus on commentating more, building a community. Games, a lot of games rely on on a really solid community, and I think that Street Fighter has just relied on hardcore fans for too long, and I think that it needs to finally get to a point where it has just a solid community of casuals, of just people who watch it all the way up to the very good pros who play in tournaments, and the people in between, like possibly me one day, who's just a decent player that just streams it and is learning the game and stuff like that. I think it just all needs to come together, and it'll just blossom like a very successful and exciting community. And I just really want to see it happen. So that's why I'm just very critical of the current state of it, and that's why I want to see it get better, because it's just something that I want to see. So yeah, that is all for today. A nice little 30-minute podcast there. Tomorrow we'll have another one hopefully, and tonight we might have some D&D. So hope you guys will be here next time. Normal streams will continue on Thursday night after Thanksgiving and all that fun stuff, and maybe even Friday because I don't work. So normal streams back on Thursday. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.